We have gone in depth on this Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller thing because people are liking this story unfolding. If you are one of those people, I have an entire playlist which goes into this. That way you can watch from the very beginning as this unfolds until right now. This is too much to TLDR and watch them through because there's a lot of finite details that get us to this very point. So it looks like Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller has officially sat in front of a judge and made statements over at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and according to the Task and Purpose article, it does look like what he's going for is a summary court-martial where he is at risk of losing 2/3 of his pay for up to a year. On top of that, we're still unsure about what his discharge is going to be. That will be up to the Secretary of the Navy. And then on top of that, letter of reprimand, which is just understood for officers, they get that. But moving forward, some of the stuff that's been revealed from the court documents, I wish Task and Purpose actually showed the documents that they have. That way we could actually read them in their entirety, but they've only referenced a few things from this document itself. But it does look like these are some of the statements that Lieutenant Colonel Scheller made. And just to refresh you guys, so you understand everything he's being charged with, it does look like he's being charged with contempt towards officials and superior officers, disobeying superior commissioned officers, dereliction of duties, failure to obey an order, and conduct unbecoming of an officer. Now, the first statement that they cite, he says this: "Under the circumstances, my behavior was disrespectful and contemptuous towards General Berger, including my ascribing motivations to the Commandant wanting to court-martial me that were speculative and without merit, and inappropriately demeaning General Berger by publicly claiming to outmaneuver him," Scheller wrote in a stipulation of fact, a copy which was obtained by Task and Purpose. Again, in this article, it does lay out that he does say that he was in the wrong because he was in uniform talking about receiving donations for his legal fees for his family and things like that. And essentially, we're still sitting at $2.5 million over at the Pipe Hitters Foundation that is sitting there for him. There's been no updates to the story over on that front. But looking at that, that was done by the former Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher, which obviously was going to help him with this lawyer, which I think is going to be a key point at the end of this video I'm going to get to, because I think they actually made some good moves for the macro perspective of Lieutenant Colonel Scheller, as a lawyer that they chose was the same one that represented Eddie Gallagher and also has a good head on his shoulders to move forward with this one as well. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller then writes, "These actions were wrongful and they both solicited funds from the public that is beyond the military-based community and created a public event that would compromise the dignity of the Marine Corps uniform," Scheller wrote. "It was wrongful because a basic tenet is not to use my public office as a Marine officer for private gain by raising money for my family or private ventures, and because I personally had no detailed information related to the alleged violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice that I publicly proclaimed against a geographic combatant commander." He also discusses that he was very well aware he disobeyed a lawful order to post on social media, and they talked about not just social media, even like third parties and messaging other people, and any way that this guy could communicate besides pretty much going on the street and yelling from a street corner. That's essentially what he was going to be allowed to do, if anything. You're going to see kind of this backpedal, but there's one sword he falls on later at the very end of this. I'm still getting people telling me they're being unsubscribed. I don't know if this is an alternative media thing that people are being unsubscribed. I'm sorry, but people weren't being notified of certain videos uploading. So if you're unsubscribed, I'm going to keep plugging it now because it seems like to be the trend. Please resubscribe. And if you're new here, I hope I've earned your sub today. I appreciate it. Thank you. Timothy Parlatore, his lawyer, one of Scheller's defense attorneys, previously said that Scheller was not expressing support for the people who took part on the January 6th Capitol Hill riot. Rather, that his client was commenting about how weak security at the Capitol building was at the time. And in the stipulation of fact, Scheller describes all of his comments as serious misbehavior as opposed to just merely inappropriate or merely in poor taste. All of the alleged bullets charged in this specification reflected indecorum and lawlessness that was morally unfitting and unworthy of being an officer, Scheller wrote. What they're talking about there is because in some of the Facebook posts that Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller wrote about, he talks about a revolution in this, and it does look like the Marine Corps was very much looking into this. There was a lot of speculation based on the books that were located on the table as he made statements, and people asking the Marine Corps, why didn't they notice this before he made it to the 05 level? There were some things about that, but this final point is where Stuart Scheller, I would say, does not back down tactfully or buckle at the knees of the Marine Corps. And he says this: I believe general officers failed to hold themselves accountable, Scheller told military judge on Thursday. I made what I believe to be true statements about their incompetence. It is disrespectful to point out their professional failures. Doing so detracts from the respect their position demands. So we're hearing a very different beat of the drum from Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller right now that I didn't think we would ever see, as he was so strong and confident in statements and things like that. But I will say I believe this might be because of his defense attorney that does seem to have a good head on his shoulders, as some of the basic principles of what he says, the type of lawyer he is, on his own website kind of show what he's trying to do here. If you look at Timothy Parlatore's little founder and managing partner thing for his law firm, it says here, throughout his career, Mr. Parlatore has handled an interesting and eclectic variety of matters, initially rising to prominence through his representations of the former police commissioner of New York City, the men who parachuted from the World Trade Center, and organized crime figures. Though already well known, he skyrocketed to worldwide recognition through his success defense of Navy SEAL Edward Gallagher on war crimes accusations. Other current represented matters include large-scale securities fraud, insider trading, mortgage fraud, money laundering, and racketeering. While he is comfortable handling cases in the spotlight, he does not seek it, and his preference is to handle cases quietly, without any headlines, to protect his clients' images and reputations. One common but little-known theme of every high-profile victory that Mr. Parlatore has won is that before embarking on a very aggressive and public defense, he has first attempted to resolve the case quietly in a manner that would allow all parties to walk away with dignity and on terms substantially identical to what the ultimate verdict turned out to be. Is that what we're seeing here? Is that this is Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller kind of trying to get the basic resolve of what we're going to see here? What I did find interesting is that he did confirm that he didn't tell the entire truth, that he knew that he was going to be tried in a court-martial by the Commandant of the Marine Corps. As you can see, he's called out other people for lying. He talked about General Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis, as many of you guys know him, as lying about his relationship status as he brought a woman around, I guess, for some kind of class that he was going to speak at, and he said that they didn't respect him because he was a liar, which I found kind of interesting. Looking at the ethical considerations of him wearing a uniform, asking for money, that does bring into question what is going to happen with this money. Is there going to be something that's just going to wait for him at the very end as he gets discharged from the military? I mean, that's $2.5 million, and I've talked about this several times. He was looking at $4 to $5 million of retirement just thrown away. So we're looking about maybe half of that. Now, it does look like he has had his defense attorney also talk about him saying this whole revolution talk in his post. He was not talking about the January 6th events that unfolded over in DC. He was just saying that we needed new political figures and we needed new military leadership. And then I was like, that's a hard step away, because when you're talking about legal stuff, I'm like, let's just go back to the basics of the definition of revolution. Per just a basic Google search, it says a forcible overthrow of a government or social order in favor of a new system. I'm going to say it's kind of hard to step away from that one. I don't know how that's going to play in his trial as he's at court-martial. It does look like his attorney has also spoke from other articles I've read. They're looking for an honorable discharge to get him out of this, which we already knew they were going to get him out anyway. If you look back at the video of him in his service uniform there with a tan top on, he says, the Marine Corps offered me a deal. The Marine Corps said they're going to let me get out. They're going to do this for me. I know that I could ruin that deal. And I'm like, so we went through all of that, all the other posts, all the other videos. You're hoping to go back on that deal that was like how many weeks ago? I don't think Lieutenant Colonel Scheller is going to get the honorable discharge. I think this is going to end up negatively, kind of like a void type thing where it's other than honorable possibly or something to that nature. And I want to end this video with a good question or talking point, because if this is just becoming a void other than honorable, see you later, no benefits, whatever else, he leaves and he does whatever, what does it set the precedent as for the future as other people might try and do this? Also, I know that I've talked about this because there's been a lot of criticism across social media where people post about this being different if this was enlisted versus an officer. Do you think that this outcome would be very different than the way Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller is being treated right now? But that is the story today. And as always, if you guys do support over here, you can support over at patreon.com for special perks and benefits. On top of that, we also do have a YouTube join button below this video for a membership where you can get special perks and benefits here on YouTube as well. But as always, if you guys have questions about this or anything else, you can always hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.